And by the way, that actually did happen in France. Comics were heavily regulated for almost the entire period that they were comics. But on the other side of that, you go to a place like Angoulême now, and comics are one of the great art forms of France.
Yeah.
Here, what the comics industry did was they decided to impose something called the Comics Code Authority, which basically neutered the creative development of comics so that all comics were basically acceptable to be read by an 8-year-old. So while other mediums were developing, film, television, music, books, comics had their growth stunted. So when film had movements that gave you things like Chinatown, and and TV had eras where you got things like The Sopranos and things like that, comics could not make those same artistic or creative strides because they had to adhere to the comics code. Now you had underground comics, which is where a lot of the people who didn't want that went to, but that created this artificial schism that didn't really start to get pulled back together until the 90s, when you had the Image movement, you had Marvel and DC deciding that they weren't really going to adhere to the comics code anymore. And then you had this big, huge pendulum shift in the other direction.